Hello and welcome back to Hop to the Top. Hope you're all doing well today and you are looking forward to the Champions League draw, which is literally about to happen. Now, there is plenty to talk about in today's episode, including transfers and what's happened in between episodes, but the group stage draw is coming up first because obviously I've got to play some games off camera to then get to that first group stage game, which we said we're going to play in today's episode. So we're going to do a draw, I'll play a few games off camera, and then we'll essentially start an episode almost as if it's a brand new episode. But what I will say is there have been transfers and there have been good results, so stick around for the rest of the episode. Also, I might be in different clothes for the rest of the episode after this because my girlfriend should be here like any minute now, pretty much. I thought I'd just get this recorded pretty quickly before she arrives. You should see a video out with her in a couple of days' time, which is quite exciting. That's going to be a first for the channel, so look forward to that one. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this Champions League group stage draw. We are one of the teams that are seeded first for the draw because we won the Europa League last season, of course. So luckily for us, we miss out playing against a whole host of decent sides. So let's see what group we get drawn into. It's Group A, actually. The first group there, that's pretty good going. So we're going to be in Group A, and these are the teams that potentially could be drawn against us. It's pretty difficult, actually. You've got some world-class teams in here, like Barcelona, Man United, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid. I mean, to be fair, after last episode, when we battered Man City, I do back us. But I'd back us more against Schalke or Inter Milan than Barcelona or Man United. So we'll see who we get. Let's draw the next team. We get Schalke. That is actually the best outcome possible. Or at least what I'd assume is the easiest out of all these second-seeded sides. So we'll draw the rest of them, which is absolutely fine. We're not too fussed about that. So looking at these third-seed sides then, looking at coefficient score, we'd want Fenerbahce, but I think they're not a bad side, to be fair. I think Juventus and Lyon are pretty decent sides. I don't want either of those two, but like a Lille, a Celtic, a Fenerbahce, we've beaten Porto before, we've beaten Leipzig before. I back us, all right? I back us. We get Fenerbahce. We're getting very lucky, at least with the coefficient scores. I mean, to be fair, these teams could be very good still, but it puts us in a good position to win our group at the moment. And then looking into the final teams, Young Boys are there, which is interesting because Basel aren't there. So we'll have to check out how they get on in the Europa League. But we can't have Young Boys, obviously. So hopefully they get a nice, easy group. Although looking across, there aren't really many easy groups at all. Perhaps Group B? Maybe, or Group D, but it's going to be tough for Young Boys, I've got to say. I don't mind any of those, although I wouldn't really want Ajax, I've got to say, or Salzburg, because we've had some poor results against Salzburg in the past. So any of those, I'm not too fussed about. We get Rangers, which should be straightforward. If we don't win this group, I'm going to be upset, actually, I've got to say. I think we've got a fantastic chance of winning that group. So I'll tell you what, I'm very pleased with that. I am really, really pleased with that. I'm going to assume that the draws for the other European competitions happen around the same time. So we'll just skip through these news articles and then we'll find out who other teams have got. So looking into the Europa League, Luzern are drawn in the Europa League. They've got Shakhtar, Freiburg and Ludogorets, which actually is a group I can see them getting out of. Basel have got Monaco, Apoel and a team from Greece that I can't quite pronounce, but they should be getting through that as well. So hopefully we'll see two more teams get through into the Europa League knockout rounds. I think that's pretty likely. And if we look into the Europa Conference League, let's look out for some of these Swiss clubs here. Lausanne are there. They have Astana, Lask and TNS. Again, I feel like they should be getting through that group. Good work by TNS to actually qualify for the group stages of the Europa Conference League. That's pretty good going. And then looking down, I presume this means that Thun haven't qualified. Because I can only see 5 Swiss clubs. Us, Young Boys, Basel, Luzern and Lausanne. I feel like last season Thun came 6th. And they must have, if we have a find of them, Thun came 6th. They are knocked out by looks of things because they lost to a team that I can't pronounce again from Cyprus in the best place knockout rounds for the Europa Conference League. So that's not fantastic, but we have 5 teams in Europe this season, which is pretty good going. So like I said, I'm going to go and play St. Gallen game, the Old Boys game, and then I'll see you back for Schalke and Young Boys. I've just noticed that as well, Young Boys and Old Boys. That's pretty decent, to be fair. Where are this club based? Old Boys are based in Basel, but I think Young Boys are based in a different city. I think they're based in... it's Bern. There we go, Bern. So they're not quite related, maybe Young Boys and Old Boys, but that's quite funny. I like that. So it's actually 48 hours since I recorded that last little bit for you. It's now Wednesday as I record this. And as you can probably tell by my voice, I'm not particularly well. It all happened so fast. Essentially, I recorded that last little bit, then my girlfriend came over, we recorded the video, but it should be out later on this week, and then I went to bed, woke up the next day with just a really sore throat, runny nose, the whole works essentially, so it's not been great. Yesterday I felt absolutely terrible. That was Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. My throat feels a little bit better. My nose, as you can probably tell, my voice is still pretty much just clogged up with all sorts. But of course, because there was no video yesterday, I really wanted to get a video out for you today. So we're going to compromise a little bit to rest my voice and things like that. We're only going to do the Schalke game in the Champions League. We're not going to bother with the young boys game in the league for now, just because I don't think my voice is going to be able to take 20-30 minutes of talking. So before we get into the game against Schalke, we have to talk about transfers, because there have been a few of those, results in between episodes. But first of all, what I want to talk to you about is the latest members of the Patreon. So thank you ever so much to Matthew O'Connor, Dan Binchley, Patrick Davies, and finally Thad Davis, who has won the race to claim our regen from the last intake, which looks fantastic. Marvin Waldvogel, which is a bit of a tricky one to pronounce. So Thad Davis is so much easier to say. 2-star current ability and 4.5 stars potential. He is the backup to Cruz this season, which is pretty good going. 17 heading for a player that is 5'5" and has a jumping reach of 4 is a bit of a bizarre one, but we like it either way. He's a player. 18 determination, 16 decisions, got some really good physicals as well. He'll be a great addition to the squad. Now, just so you know how valued Thad Davis is, I completely forgot to offer him a contract when he joined the club. So he's on a youth contract, and when the season finishes, any club can then offer him a contract. So I did panic a little bit, and I offered him a contract with £7,500 per week wages. It was quite big, but literally every single club under the sun, Man City, PSG, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, loads of clubs in France, loads of clubs in Italy, loads of clubs essentially just offered him a contract. We would have got 850k in compensation, but I feel like if those clubs want him now, he's worth more than that. Luckily, he accepted the contract with us, so for a while I did think this guy was going to be leaving the club, but he didn't, which is probably as good as a signing because he looks fantastic and he's going to be a great backup to Cruz this season. Hopefully, in the coming seasons, will be our first choice. So once again, thank you to Thad and all the others for donating to the Patreon. I really massively appreciate it, and I know it sounds a bit stupid, but every single time someone donates to the Patreon, I really massively appreciate it. It means an awful lot. It's sort of that one step closer. Every donation is sort of that one step closer to me being able to do this full time. That's the dream, of course. It's obviously still a long way off, but it's the dream. It's what I want to do, and every donation sort of makes me think, yes, I can do it and push on for it. So thank you to everyone who does donate. Next up then, we are looking at transfers. And actually, before we even look at the transfer history, we need to talk about one player in particular, if we can find him. Jerome Bernard. Now, he's currently still at the club, but he will be leaving very soon to go to Sheffield United on the 1st of January. He doesn't actually say how much for yet, but he's leaving the club for £25 million to go to Sheffield United. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, Tom, why are you letting Jerome Bernard go? He's been a very good player for you. And yes, he has been a very good player. His first season was incredible for us, 10 goals, 13 assists. Second season was still very good, 10 goals, 5 assists. And he's done pretty well so far this season with 2 assists from 5 appearances. However, his current ability hasn't really massively improved, if I'm honest with you. And his potential ability, it says there 4 stars, but it seems to bounce between 4 stars and 2.5 stars. And I feel like if we want to progress massively now in the next 3 seasons and focus on the Champions League, we need someone better than Jerome Bernard in current ability terms. So we have brought a new signing in to replace him on a fantastic bargain, I think. So if we go over to the transfer history, you can see for £6 million from Cruz Azul, we've brought in Roberto Alvarado, an attacking midfielder on the left-hand side with 4-star current ability. So much better, apparently, in terms of current ability than Jerome Bernard. If we go to the comparison, look at the player comparison, you can see that, to be fair, he is, apart from speed and physicality, of course, Jerome Bernard is a little bit younger, so he's probably a little bit more physical than him. Roberto Alvarado is so much better. So I feel like he's a player that we need to get in the squad. For £6 million as well, it's an absolute steal. And especially for a player that's never dipped below a 7 rating whilst playing in Mexico. I know it's slightly different to, of course, the Swiss leagues and European leagues, but he's never dipped below a 7 rating. Looks like a solid player, gets plenty of goals and assists, so I think he's going to be a great addition to the squad. But that's not the only signing we have made. Actually, it's not the only player we've let go. We have let go of another player as well. Giorgio Mazzio has gone to Basel for £1.6 million. He was a regen that
didn't really look brilliant to us. Only one 3-star potential ability, but he's gone to Basel for £1.6 million. They see value in him. We've let him go, but he wasn't going to play for us, so I was happy to take the money in for him. But that money has helped spend £22.5 million on a player from Flamenco. He's called Pedro, and he is a central midfielder, which is a position that we did need to strengthen. It says here 3-star current ability and 4-star potential. It kind of depends on which coach you ask, but he looks like a fantastic player with some pretty decent traits as well, and a position that we really needed to strengthen. So I'm very happy to welcome Pedro to the squad after spending his entire career at Flamenco, where again, he's rarely dipped in recent seasons below a 7 rating. He's done very well, played in France for a little while and did all right there. So I think he's ready to step up to the big leagues and have a go with us and help us secure what we need to secure by winning the league and getting some good Champions League football. We have spent a lot of money on him, but I do think he's going to be worth it. And again, if we can sell him on the future for a lot of money, then I think that'd be quite good as well. Again, 22 years old, he will reach that potential ability, so I've got every confidence in Pedro in being a key player for us. So they are the 2 big transfers that we've done. I know we're looking a little bit shaky for transfers at the end of last episode, but those 2 have come in, and I think they are really big additions to the squad and are improvements on positions that we needed to improve on. If we have a look at the fixtures since you were last here for the Super Cup win against Man City, we have played 4 games, a 4-0 win in the Cup against a team I've never heard of before. Brennan, Bottles and Soares with the goals in that one. We then beat Zurich 4-0 in the league. Bottles with a hat-trick and Callum Brennan scoring one right at the end. We then had a rather disappointing 0-0 draw with St Gallen. We seem to have a fair few of those. St Gallen seems to be doing all right against us, but again, a disappointing game, that one. Before we beat Old Boys in the Swiss Cup second round, Schmitz, Tim Wright, Bottles, McQuaid and João Soares with the goals in that one, which we were very pleased with. Today, though, of course, just the Schalke game coming up for you. So let's jump straight into that one. Let's go over to the tactics. And I think we should be getting a result against these boys today. I think anything less than a win, we've got to be disappointed with. So, in goal is Kalas as per usual, with a backline of Guardado, Ross McQuaid, Haroldinho, Bunce and Cruz. Schneider and the new signing Pedro slot into that midfield. We have changed Schneider to a deep line playmaker and Smith to an attacking midfielder rather than being the advanced playmaker, just because Schneider, he's not really suited to that box-to-box midfielder role that we had in that position already. And I just feel like changing things up a little bit might work out for us in the long run to get the best out of both Alex Smith and Schneider. It hasn't quite worked in the past, but they're older, better players now, so maybe it will now. If it doesn't, we can revert back. It's just a little test, I suppose. We've got Capitano on that right-hand side. We've got new player Alvarado on the left-hand side. And, of course, Matthew Bottles, already up to 13 goals this season, starting up front. So then, kickoff is upon us here today, away to Schalke in this first one, but that shouldn't stop us too much. I'm still expecting us to play really well. They do have a very good left-back in Gianluca Itta. He is a wonder kid in games, so if you've not signed him in your game yet, he's probably worth signing at left-back. He is going to be, or he's meant to be very good in future, and Schalke seem to have kept on to him for now, which is pretty good. But the rest of the team, I'm not so sure on. Obviously, I've got Pasalac to be fair, who's pretty decent as well, but personally, I think this team is a team that we should be comfortably beating, as Weston McKenna puts it into Mac Allister, who shoots from distance, and that's the kind of thing that this Schalke team are doing. Not much. Now, I am saying all that, looking at the stats, they've had 9 shots to our 2 shots. So really, we're not playing particularly well today, as they have just scored a goal, which you hate to see. But, you know, I'm talking the talk. I'm expecting the boys to show and back me up with this, and we're not doing it just yet, which is a little bit disappointing, I've got to say, as they put it in the back of the net there. We'll skip that rest of that replay. We don't care about that. We've got a chance now coming forward. We've got Bottles on the team, and, well, we do get tackled like that. That's not very good either. As I was about to say, we've got Bottles on the team, and anything's possible when you've got Bottles on the team, but I suppose anything's possible when you give the ball away in a crucial position like that with not many defenders back. Schalke 2, Grasshoppers 0. You hate to see it. So, let's show some passion out there, boys. I'm not very pleased with how we're playing right now. Really poor ratings from most of the squad. Not quite sure what's going on. Looks like we are going to have our first defeat of the season straight away after I say anything less than a win is disappointing today. And I said we should be expected to top our group. And that's not happened yet today, has it? Which is rather frustrating. Potentially, what we might do is just switch back to a little bit of normality today. Advanced playmaker on attack. Bring it back to a box-to-box midfielder on support, and we might bring Soares on the pitch for Schneider instead he's on a yellow card. That might change things up a little bit. That might help us out, but I don't think that little change is going to make that much of a big difference in the squad. That's not the reason we've been playing so poorly. Surely it can't be that. That can't be the reason, as the second half is going by very quickly. Let's shout demands more out there. We'll stay on attacking as well because we need to score some goals. We need to be on attacking, but we need to get at least a goal back in this game to show that we really do mean something in this Champions League. We beat Man City 3-1 last game. Surely we should be beating Schalke pretty comfortably as Felipe Cruz back to Kalas in goal, plays it up to our new winger Alvarado, who can use a bit of pace to get past a defensive marker. That didn't make sense, did it? But we got past the defender. In the end, Bottles' shot isn't in the back of a net. You hate to see it. And as the clock ticks down, what else can we do? Who else can we bring on? Billy Schmitz for Capitano has not played particularly well out there today. Maybe even Xavi Simons for Pedro. That could maybe change something in our favour, but he's not really a player to use in that position. We'll do it anyway. We'll see what happens as Bottles has been put forward. Good save by the keeper in the goal, though. We've got 15 minutes to put some pressure onto Schalke. Otherwise, it's a disappointing episode. Come on then. Guardado with a throw-in into Soros, who gets back to Guardado into Alex Smith. Let's get the ball into the box, lads. Get it in the middle as Soros on the ball. Back to Ross McQuaid, who can put it forward. Surely to Alvarado there. That's pretty good going. Soros out to Guardado in plenty of space. Can he get the cross in? He does to Xavi Simons, who drags it wide. We are getting back into this game in the second half with 9 shots now, but it's just too little, too late. For whatever reason, we haven't turned up today against Schalke. You hate to see it. And Felipe Cruz on the ball, back out to Haroldinho Bunce, up to Kalas. Ross McQuaid on the ball, back to Guardado. Come on, boys. I'm expecting so much more from you today as Guardado racing down the line. Can he put the cross in? He can't because it gets cleared straight away. Pasalac gets it out, but only as far as Billy Schmitz into Xavi Simons. Billy Schmitz on the ball. Can he shoot from the edge of the area? Probably the less said about that, the better, I've got to say. So, on a day where we said we should be topping our Champions League group easily, we should be beating Schalke easily, we've lost 2-0. It's not ideal, but we still have a good 5 games to go in the Champions League. We can still turn it around. We can still get into the later stages. We should be battering Fenerbahce and Rangers as well. So, as long as we do that, we're going through. So, I'm pretty confident still. Anyway, it is a good job that I've decided to not do the Young Boys game on today's episode because my throat is killing me already. So we might have to do a little bit of just one game episodes for the next couple of days just while my voice and health recovers. Next episode then, I would like to go and do, if we look down here, I think the Fenerbahce game next time looks pretty decent. What we could do at the same time as well, if my voice is feeling up to it, we might also do Lugano or the Lozun game. Depends who's higher in the table at the time, but we'll do one of those two as well if I'm feeling up to it. So thank you ever so much for watching today's video. Apologies that there was no video yesterday, but, you know, it's one of those things, unfortunately, health, the horrible stuff. But I hope you understand. Either way, I'll see you tomorrow for another episode. But until then, take care, have a good one, goodbye.